Some roads are quiet. Too quiet. These are 3 true stories from people who should have never driven alone after dark. Listen closely. And remember, when the road goes silent, that's when you should be most afraid. My name is Travis Reed. I'm 27 and live in Springfield, Missouri. That year, I had just switched from day shifts to nights at a warehouse near the I-44. I usually got off around 2 a.m., and to get home faster, I started using a quiet stretch of road called Cedar Hill, a shortcut most people avoided, but it saved me almost 15 minutes. Cedar Hill wasn't really a hill, more like a slow decline through an old pine forest. No street lights. No signs. Just cracked asphalt and trees that stood too still, like they were waiting for something. I knew every turn, every bump. I'd driven that road hundreds of times. But that night, something was different. It was 2:07 a.m. The sky was clear but the air was cold. The radio in my truck barely picked up a signal. As I started down the hill, I noticed something off ahead. Through the light fog, I saw a car parked on the shoulder. Headlights were on, engine running, but no hazard lights. No signs of distress. I slowed down. There was no one standing near the car. No one waving for help. But what really caught my attention was the direction of the headlights. They weren't pointed toward the road like normal. They were aimed directly into the woods across the street. Like someone had turned the wheel on purpose, positioning the car at a very specific angle. I eased closer, rolled my window down, just trying to see if anyone was inside. No movement. No sound, other than the low purr of the engine and those headlights burning a hole through the dark forest. I was going to drive past it, but curiosity got the better of me. I stopped my truck, maybe 20 feet behind the silver sedan. I stepped out, one hand near my waist, where I kept a flashlight and a can of pepper spray. I'm not stupid. But I'm not heartless either. I approached the driver's side window and tapped on the glass. Nothing. I shined my light inside. Empty. All 4 doors were locked. On the passenger seat, there was a half-open backpack. Inside, I saw a pair of gloves, a notebook, and a cassette recorder. One of those old models you only see old-timers using. Then I noticed the first odd thing: the car was in neutral. No one was touching the gas. But the engine kept running. The headlights weren't flickering. It looked like someone had stepped out and never came back. I started to back away. Then I heard it. A click. Sharp. Mechanical. Like someone had just hit the record button on the cassette player. The sound came from inside the car. I pointed my flashlight back at the passenger seat. The recorder was turning. No one had touched it. I stood still. The soft hum of the tape rolling filled the cold night air. Something about it made my spine tense. The kind of chill that hits without warning and doesn't let go. Then, the tape started to play. A voice, cracked, but clear, cut through the stillness. The headlights will show the way, but don't follow them. Never follow them. I stepped back, heart pounding so hard I could feel it in my throat. I didn't wait for more. I ran back to my truck and peeled off down the hill. But I didn't make it far. Ahead of me, sitting in the middle of the road, was another car. Same model. Same silver paint. Same angle, headlights pointing straight into the woods. The road narrowed as I turned off the main highway. Trees pressed close on both sides like a wall of black, thick and unmoving. Wind hissed through the pines like whispers in a locked room. The path was steep, uneven, and utterly dark, except for my own headlights. But the lights behind me? They were still there. Trailing at a steady distance. Not gaining. Not fading. I slowed down. The headlights stayed the same. I sped up. Still there. They weren't trying to catch up. They weren't trying to pass. They were just following. Sweat formed along my hairline, even though the temperature had dropped into the 40s. I glanced at the dashboard. 12:47 a.m. I had been driving nearly an hour. No road signs. No exits. Just the endless forest pressing in from both sides. I flicked on my hazard lights, hoping the car behind me would get the message and go around. Nothing. I pulled over, engine still running, headlights on. Waited. Nothing moved. Then I killed the engine and cracked the window, just enough to listen. Cold air rushed in. Silence. No idling motor. No crunch of tires. Just the pounding in my chest echoing in my ears. I slowly turned to look into the rearview mirror. Nothing. No headlights. No car. Just black trees and the whisper of wind. I didn't understand. I exhaled hard, gripped the wheel tighter. Maybe they'd turned off. Taken a turn I didn't see. But that couldn't be. There were no side roads. No forks. No junctions. Just one long, unbroken stretch. I was sure of it. I restarted the engine and turned around to double-check. Nothing but darkness and a thin film of fog curling through the trees. I turned back and kept driving. This time, I kept my headlights on low beam, just in case. Minutes later, I saw it again. The headlights. But now they were ahead of me. Perched on a distant slope. I hit the brakes. No way. I had been driving straight. No loops. No circles. How the hell did that car get in front of me? I killed my lights. The other headlights remained still. No movement. But then I noticed something that made my skin crawl. The beams weren't hitting anything. Not the trees. Not the road. Just suspended. Two glowing eyes staring into nothing. I slowly put the car in reverse. My pulse thundered. Cold sweat trickled down my spine. And then, the lights ahead shut off. Just like that. Gone. 1 second later. Headlights exploded behind me. But not normal ones. They blasted straight into my rear window, blinding white, unblinking, and too still. No sound. No engine hum. No silhouettes. Just light. Sharp as a blade. Tearing the night apart. I floored it. No hesitation. No logic. Just survival. At that point, I wasn't even trying to outrun it. I just needed to know I wasn't losing my mind. To my right, something moved. A flash of motion, deep in the woods. I didn't get a good look. Just a tall, thin shape sliding between trees. Silent. Too silent. The night felt endless. But I didn't stop. Only when I saw a faint yellow glow ahead did I finally exhale. A rusted sign, flickering through the fog. Cedar Hollow General Store, 0.5 miles. I drove toward it like I was running from hell itself. And even then, I never looked in the rearview mirror. I wasn't ready to know if it had truly gone. Cedar Hollow General Store emerged from the fog like an island in a sea of black. A weathered wooden building with a flickering neon light over the porch and a peeling sign where only a few letters could still be read. The clock on my dashboard read 1:16 a.m. But it felt like I'd been driving through a place with no time at all. I parked right by the door, turned off the engine, and sat still. My heart was still pounding. I looked around, no headlights. No engine noises. No other cars. No one. I stepped inside. A dull yellow glow from a buzzing fluorescent bulb lit up every floating dust particle in the stale air. Behind the counter stood an older man, staring blankly at a tiny TV playing a weather forecast rerun. He glanced at me once. No greeting. No smile. Like he already knew I was running from something. I asked, "Anyone else come through here, this late?" He replied softly, "No. No one drives that road anymore, not after midnight." I froze. "You ever hear about headlights on Cedar Hill?" This time, he looked directly at me. Long and steady. Then he nodded, like a sentence had just been confirmed. My nephew saw it. Back in 2004. He was driving home after a class reunion. Stopped, thinking someone needed help. Next morning, they found his car. Door open. Headlights still on. No struggle. No signs of where he went. Just, gone. I swallowed hard. My throat felt raw. "Has anyone ever made it back?" He said only this. "You're the first I've seen." I stepped back slightly. In the fridge door's reflection behind him, I saw it. Headlights. Blinding white. Pressed up against the store's front glass. I spun around. Nothing. Just the night. No car. No light. But the smell, that sharp mix of ozone and rust, lingered in the air. The same scent that filled my truck when that light first chased me. I bought a bottle of water. My hand shook so bad I nearly dropped the cash. On my way out, I noticed a small corkboard beside the exit. A faded notice. Missing, Cedar Hill route. Grainy photos. Men. Women. All ages. Under each one, the same line. Last seen, after midnight, on Cedar Hill. My chest tightened. I pulled open the truck door, got in, locked it. Didn't look back at the store. Didn't check the mirrors. And for the entire drive home, I didn't slow down. I didn't stop. And I sure as hell didn't let any headlights get close again. I never told anyone what happened that night. Not because I was afraid they'd call me crazy, but because I knew, some things, when spoken out loud, come back to find you. For weeks after that, I avoided the Cedar Hill route like it was cursed by name. Even when I got off work late, I'd take the long way home, through towns where porch lights still stayed on after dark. I kept my windows rolled up. My rearview mirror always tilted down. And sometimes, at stoplights or in traffic, I'd catch it. That glow. 2 beams of white light. No engine noise. No movement. Like it didn't need wheels to follow me. Like all it needed, was to be remembered. 3 weeks later, while washing my truck, I found something strange. On the rear window, where rain usually left a dusty haze, there were 2 perfectly clean streaks. Rounded. Side by side. Like someone had wiped it with their hands. Or like, headlights had burned straight through the dirt. I reached to clean it again, but my hand hit something rough. Under sunlight, I saw it clearly. A faint burn mark, like melted plastic or scorched resin, right where the lights had hit. Shaking, I climbed back into the cab. I reopened the dash cam footage. That night, I'd assumed it had shut off during the rain, but the power cord was still connected. The battery hadn't died. The footage cut off at 12:43 a.m. Just seconds before I first saw the headlights. The final frame was still on screen. A wet, empty road. And in the rearview mirror, 2 white orbs had just crept into view. I paused the frame. Behind those lights, was a silhouette. No make. No color. Just beams. And a figure standing between them. No face. No posture. Just a blurry mass. A shadow shaped like a person. I don't remember when I deleted the file. But ever since that night, whenever I drive up a dark hill road, I don't look in the mirror. Not because I'm afraid I'll see it there again, but because I'm afraid, one day, I won't. And I'll finally realize it's already inside the car with me. I was halfway between Montpelier and a stretch of empty blacktop that barely passed for Route 2, just east of Groton State Forest. It was the kind of road that looked haunted even in daylight, and now, past midnight, with sleet hitting the windshield like whispers, it was silent as a grave. I don't usually take this route, but traffic had backed up for miles near the main highway after a truck jackknifed it. So I rerouted, thinking I'd save 20 minutes. Instead, I lost everything. My rental, a gray Subaru I'd picked up in Boston, started jerking. The kind of hiccup that makes your stomach drop before your brain even registers it. I tapped the gas. Nothing. No acceleration, just that eerie coast. And then it stalled completely. I coasted onto the shoulder, where bare trees stood like spectators. I sat there, engine silent, hazards blinking uselessly into the snow, my breath fogging the inside of the windshield. No signal. Not a single bar. I restarted the car twice. No luck. The cold was seeping in fast. Vermont in early March is no joke. I reached into the back seat, pulled my coat tighter, and leaned forward, resting my forehead against the wheel. That's when the headlights showed up. At first, I thought I imagined them. But the glow crept over the snow like a slow sunrise. A car, maybe a truck, was approaching from behind, cutting through the fog. My heart kicked up. Relief. It pulled in right behind me. A black pickup. Clean. New. The kind with matte rims and a silent engine that made you think it cost more than your last apartment's lease. The driver didn't honk. Didn't flash their lights. Just waited. I turned in my seat, trying to see through the glare. I couldn't make out the face. Just a silhouette. The outline of a ball cap. They didn't step out. Didn't wave. Something about the stillness made the hairs on my arms rise. But I rolled the window down halfway anyway. Hey! Car's dead. No signal. You got a phone I can use? The door opened slowly. Heavy boots on gravel. A figure, tall, bulky coat, gloved hands, walked toward my window. Didn't answer. Just extended a hand. A cell phone. Older model. Locked. Screen cracked. I took it, nodded a thank you, and ducked back inside. The keypad was stuck. Wouldn't unlock. Just buzzed under my fingers. Then, just for a second, I looked up into the mirror. The man hadn't moved. But he was staring straight at me. Not just standing there. Leaning slightly. Too close to the window. Like he was watching every breath I took. The cracked screen lit up. A keypad. I typed 911. Before I could press call, the screen went black. I looked up again. He was gone. No footsteps. No door slam. Just vanished back into the fog. But the pickup? Still idling behind me. Lights on. Empty. I stared at it. And then I saw it. The outline of a head. In the back seat of my car. I didn't move at first. Just stared into the rearview mirror, breath caught somewhere between my lungs and throat. There was definitely a shape. Faint. Still. Just the curve of a head. And something, reflecting light where eyes should be. The kind of thing you convince yourself isn't there, because it shouldn't be there. The pickup behind me was still idling, headlights dim behind the curtain of snow. But I couldn't see anyone inside. No movement. No door left open. Just fog on the windshield, like someone had been breathing heavy against the glass. Inside my own car, the air felt thicker now. The cold less biting than before, more like the dead stillness of something waiting. I turned slowly, trying not to breathe too loud. The back seat was empty, but the rearview mirror still showed the shape. I blinked. Still there. My fingers found the door lock. Click. All 4 doors sealed. But the mirror didn't lie. The outline of a head. Tilted. Watching. I gripped the steering wheel, the leather freezing under my palms. And then, a sound. Not outside. Inside. A breath. Low and wet, like someone inhaling through a cracked mouth. It came from behind my headrest. I didn't turn around. I couldn't. Instead, I reached for the phone the man had given me. Still dead. Then the dome light flicked on for a split second, flickered, then off. I froze. But in that flash of light, I saw it. A handprint. On the inside of the back window. Smudged. Palm splayed. The kind that left a faint greasy mark, like someone had pressed it there, from the inside. The rearview mirror had gone dark. No more shape. Just the reflection of my own wide eyes. I turned the key again. Miraculously, the engine sputtered, and roared to life. I didn't wait. I threw it into drive and slammed the gas. The tires skidded on slush, fishtailed for a breathless second, then caught traction. As I peeled away, I glanced once, just once, into the side mirror. The black pickup behind me? Still sitting there. But the driver's door had opened. And someone, tall, shoulders hunched, face obscured, was stepping out. Holding something in one hand. Long thin. Dragging against the road. The fog swallowed him as I sped forward. I didn't look again. I drove. Faster than the snow allowed. The wipers barely kept up. The storm had thickened into a wall of white, swallowing the road ahead. Headlights blurred in a gray haze. The silence in the car was thick now, oppressive. Like someone was still holding their breath in the back seat. But I didn't look. Not anymore. Every instinct screamed one thing: keep going. The miles stretched on. No road signs. No towns. Just the endless line of pine trees bending under the weight of the snow, flanking either side like sentinels from another time. Then the strangest thing happened. The radio, still off, crackled. A low burst of static. Just for a second. Then silence. I reached to shut it off completely, even though it was already dead. But the knob was ice cold. And wet. I pulled my hand back. Glanced down. Moisture. Just a few drops on the knob. Reddish brown. Like rust. Or something else. I wiped it on my jeans. But the smell lingered, earthy, metallic. Like old blood. The air inside the car grew colder, but not the kind that stings your skin. This cold was deeper. Like the temperature had dropped from the inside out. The kind that seeps into your bones. Then I saw it. A turnoff on the right. Unmarked. Just a narrow road, almost swallowed by the woods, hidden behind a wall of snow-covered branches. And tire tracks. Fresh. Leading in. My hands twitched on the wheel. Part of me wanted to keep driving. Another part, the part that hadn't spoken since the man handed me that phone, whispered something different. Check it. Just check it. I slowed. Turned onto the road. Branches brushed the car as I eased through the entrance. The woods closed in fast. Snow fell heavier here, as if the sky itself wanted to bury whatever lay ahead. Then the trees opened up. And I saw it. The pickup truck. Same model. Same peeling paint. Same cracked taillight. Parked just off the path. Empty. Engine running. The tailpipe puffed faint clouds into the air, barely visible in the thick white mist. My stomach turned. I stopped the car 30 feet away. Then I saw the footprints. In the snow. Dozens of them. Circling the truck. Leading away into the trees. Then doubling back. Some were bare feet. Others, longer, spaced too far apart. Not natural. Not human. I reached for my phone again. Still dead. I hadn't turned it on. Not since that man handed it to me. I was too afraid of what might happen when I did. The air grew quiet again. Utterly still. No wind. No rustling. Even the engine noise felt muffled. I blinked hard, snowflakes melting on my eyelashes. And then, in the rearview mirror, a figure. Just behind the car. Standing. Motionless. Head tilted. Too close to have approached without a sound. I didn't turn around. I didn't breathe. My fingers found the gearshift. Reverse. Then drive. Then the gas pedal. Hard. The tires screeched, throwing up slush. The figure didn't chase. But I swear, I heard it laugh. Not a scream. Not a voice. A sound like wet gravel sliding down a throat. And then I was gone, the trees rushing past me, the road curving sharply back to the highway. But the laugh stuck with me. Even when I was miles away. Even when the unmarked road was just a memory in my rearview mirror. By the time I reached the edge of Montpelier, the storm had begun to fade. The roads were still slick, but plow trucks had cleared most of the way. Streetlights blinked dimly as I entered town, their halos reflecting on the slush-coated asphalt like ghosts swaying in the air. I pulled into a gas station, its fluorescent lights harsh and buzzing. The kind of brightness that should have felt comforting. It didn't. I stepped out of the car. The wind bit at my cheeks. The cold still clung to me, not from the air, but from inside. Like something had crawled under my skin and made a home there. The clerk behind the counter gave me a look. A weird mix of concern and something else, fear, maybe. "You okay?" he asked. I nodded, just to make the interaction end. Inside the bathroom, I stared at myself in the mirror. For the first time since that night began, I really looked. My eyes were bloodshot. My lips pale. But what caught my attention was the back of my jacket. Slashed. 3 long marks. Parallel. As if something, or someone, had scraped across the fabric. But I never felt anything. I took out my phone. Dead screen. I hesitated. Then turned it on. The battery icon blinked to life. 83%. No missed calls. No outgoing ones either. Except, one entry in the recent call log. Placed at 12:34 a.m. To a number I didn't recognize. The contact name just said, "Don't answer." The call lasted 14 seconds. I didn't remember dialing it. I didn't remember hearing it ring. I didn't remember anything at 12:34. But I did remember what happened at 12:36. The knock on my window. The man's smile. The strange voice that didn't match his mouth. I deleted the log, but my fingers shook. Something told me the number wouldn't go away. Back in the car, I locked the doors. I was less than 20 minutes from the lodge now. From safety. I turned on the heat. Let the vents hiss warm air into the frozen cabin. And then, the rearview mirror vibrated. Not from the car. From inside the glass. A small ripple, like a drop of water hitting a calm surface. Then another. And a fog began to creep across it. From the center. Spreading outward. I wiped it with my sleeve. It came back. This time, with words. Scrawled backward, as if written from the other side of the glass. I see you. I didn't scream. I didn't move. I just drove. I kept my eyes straight ahead. Never looked back. Not even once. 3 days later, I had the mirror replaced. The technician said it was corroded from the inside, something he'd never seen on a car that new. I didn't explain. I just nodded and paid. That night, as I drove home from work, I noticed something. A reflection in my side mirror. Not mine. Not the road. Just a face. Pale. Distant. Watching. I turned my head. Nothing. But when I looked back in the mirror, the words were back. Faint. Like breath on glass. Don't stop next time. I don't drive at night anymore. And I never look in the rear view. Not unless I'm ready to see what's already there. Waiting. It happened in July of 2017, just outside Asheville, North Carolina. I was 19, driving my dad's old Toyota Tacoma down Route 74, heading home after spending the weekend with a girl I was sort of dating at the time. I don't remember what we talked about that night. Only that I left around 10:45 p.m., and by the time I hit the edge of the Blue Ridge Parkway, the sky had turned ink black and the air had the weight of an incoming storm. I was running low on gas, and my phone was at 8%. Somewhere past Cherokee, my GPS lost signal, the map froze, and I realized I had missed the last open gas station by at least 20 miles. The only thing ahead was darkness, framed by thick forest on either side of the narrow highway. I started looking for a shortcut, or at least a side road that might take me back toward Bryson City where I knew there were lights, and people. That's when I saw it. A handmade wooden sign nailed crookedly to a leaning post. Black Hollow RD, 2.1 miles. Locals only. No through traffic. I wish I had kept driving. I wish I had ignored it like my gut told me to. But the Tacoma was almost on E, and the idea of backtracking felt worse than cutting through a place I'd never heard of. I turned onto the dirt road, tires crunching over loose gravel, the trees immediately swallowing the light from my headlights. There were no houses. No mailboxes. No fences. Just woods. The deeper I went, the thicker the dark became. Even my brights barely reached more than 15 feet. Every now and then, I'd spot movement between the trees, branches twitching, leaves shifting, but never saw what caused it. Then came the smell. It hit suddenly. A thick, sour stench, like rotten cabbage mixed with sulfur and something else I couldn't place. My windows were closed, but it crept in anyway, filling the truck like smoke. I rolled them down for air, hoping to clear my head, but the wind didn't help. It was dead still, unnaturally still, like the trees were holding their breath. That's when I noticed the silence. No insects. No birds. No wind. Only the low hum of my engine and the crunch of gravel under tires. Then, up ahead, movement. A figure crossed the road. Too fast to make out clearly, but tall. Thin. Not running. More like drifting. I hit the brakes, heart jumping into my throat. My headlights cut across the trees, catching nothing but empty trunks and shadows. For a second, I thought maybe it was a deer. Or a trick of the light. But when I eased forward, the smell grew worse. The air thickened, and something scraped faintly under the truck, like dragging cloth or wet leaves. I turned the music off. Listened. Nothing. I kept going. I drove slower now. The road narrowed, just wide enough for one vehicle, with trees leaning so close their branches scraped softly across the roof of the Tacoma like fingertips. The dirt path had turned muddy, shallow ruts pulling at the tires as I crept forward. Every instinct I had was screaming to turn around. But there was nowhere to do it. No shoulder. No driveways. No breaks in the tree line. Only the woods. I turned off the radio again. Just in case. That's when I heard it. Footsteps. Light, but deliberate. Off to the left. Keeping pace with the truck. I slowed. The footsteps slowed. I stopped. They stopped. I flicked the high beams to the side. Nothing. Just trees and the mist curling at their base. I pressed forward, quicker this time. The Tacoma bounced over roots and potholes. The road felt like it was coiling deeper into the hills, the air getting heavier with each bend. My eyes darted between the mirrors and the windshield, scanning for anything, movement, light, a sign this road actually went somewhere. Then I heard it again. The footsteps. But this time, on both sides. Like somethings, were walking in sync with me. One on the left. One on the right. The stench returned, thicker now, clawing its way down my throat. I gagged, rolled the windows back up, but it didn't help. A shape darted between the trees. Too quick to track. Then another, on the other side. Still no animals. No birds. No insects. Just shadows. And those footsteps. Always matching my speed. I checked my phone. Dead. The battery had been low, but not that low. I turned a corner and saw something that made my skin crawl. A backpack. Sitting in the middle of the road. Old. Dirty. Zipper half open. Like someone had dropped it while running. I stopped. My hands were shaking. There were scratches along the gravel. Drag marks. Faint, but there. Leading away from the pack. Into the trees. That's when I realized. I wasn't the first person on this road. And I might not be the last. I swerved around the backpack, tires kicking up gravel. I didn't stop. Couldn't. Every fiber of me screamed that whatever left that bag wasn't far, and it hadn't meant to leave it behind. The forest seemed darker now, like the trees were bending in closer. The headlights cut through the mist, but shapes kept flickering at the edge of vision, too quick to see, too solid to ignore. The road started climbing uphill. Steep, winding. Black hollow ridge, I guessed. That's when I saw it. The figure. In the rearview mirror. Standing dead center of the road where I'd just come from. Not moving. Just watching. I slammed the brakes. Looked behind me. Nothing. The road was empty. My pulse thundered in my ears. I looked back to the mirror. There it was again. Closer. Same spot in the mirror. Same posture. Not behind me. Not in the road. Just in the mirror. I turned the mirror down, out of my line of sight. That helped. For a moment. But then, tap. 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 From the back window. I whipped around. Nothing. Just condensation forming on the inside glass. Small smudges, like fingerprints. My hands trembled on the steering wheel. I pressed the gas harder. The Tacoma roared forward, tires spitting dirt. The trees blurred. The road dipped and twisted, and then, I saw it. A clearing. At the top of the ridge. I burst into it like surfacing from water, gasping for air. The road leveled out, the trees pulling back. For a split second, I saw stars through the mist. Then, something darted across the clearing. On all fours. Too fast to be human. Too large to be a deer. Gone in a flash. Just a ripple in the fog. And then, my headlights caught another vehicle. A sedan. Parked half in the ditch, half across the road. Its doors all open. Headlights off. No one inside. But something was scratched into the trunk. Deep gouges. 4 letters. Stay. My breath caught. Whatever this place was, it didn't want me here. And it didn't want me leaving, either. I didn't stop at the abandoned sedan. Didn't even slow down. The word gouged into the trunk, stay, burned itself into my brain. But everything in me screamed the opposite. I gripped the wheel, foot to the floor, and pushed the Tacoma harder than I ever had. The road narrowed again, curling like a noose back into the woods. The mist was thicker now, like breathing through cotton soaked in ice water. My headlights were nearly useless, barely cutting a dozen feet ahead. Then the radio, dead all night, crackled back to life. But it wasn't music. A voice. Low. Warped. Like something playing backwards. A dry, whispered rasp. Still here. You shouldn't be. I slapped the dash. The radio cut out. But then, laughter. Not from the speakers. From the passenger seat. I turned my head. It was empty. But the seatbelt was pulled tight, as if something invisible was sitting there, held in place. I didn't breathe for 5 seconds. Then the seatbelt snapped loose, like someone had unbuckled it. I hit the brakes. Hard. The truck fishtailed, tires skidding on gravel, but I kept it on the road. Barely. Heart hammering, I scanned ahead, through the fog, until I saw it. The intersection. Where Black Hollow Road met Route 27. The exit. I gunned the engine. But just before I hit the turn, something stepped into the road. Not from the woods. From the fog itself. Tall. Slender. Its face, blank. No eyes. No mouth. Just smooth, pale skin stretched over a skull-like shape. It raised one long arm. And pointed behind me. No words. Just a gesture. I didn't slow down. I turned the wheel sharply and roared onto Route 27, tires screeching as the Tacoma broke free from the hollow's grip. As I crossed the faded white lines onto pavement, the fog vanished. Like it had been a wall, guarding the edge. And behind me, just black trees and empty air. Nothing chased me. Nothing followed. But when I looked into the rearview mirror, for a split second, I saw the passenger seat was no longer empty. Just a shadow. Sitting there. Silent. Waiting. I flipped the mirror up. Didn't check again. I got home at 3:12 a.m. The drive should have taken an hour. Maybe less. I had been gone nearly 5. I didn't sleep that night. Didn't sleep much after that either. I asked a few locals about Black Hollow. Most just shrugged. A few told me I must have meant Baker's Ridge or Old Mill Road. But one guy, an old mechanic in Claysville, just stared at me. Said that road hadn't been used since the 1980s. Said the town sealed it after too many people got turned around. When I asked what he meant, he just said, "Some roads take you somewhere. Others take you." Now, every once in a while, my radio still crackles when I drive late at night. The seatbelt next to me tightens. And for a split second, the mirror flickers. Just enough to see someone sitting there. Someone who doesn't belong. Someone I never invited. I don't drive shortcuts anymore. Especially not when the fog rolls in. Because some passengers never leave. If you've made it this far, congratulations. But before you put the keys in the ignition, ask yourself, who might be waiting out there, just beyond the next turn? This has been Nightmare Vault. Don't forget to subscribe. And never drive alone again.